Hello.
Good evening, one and all. May I request all of you to be kindly seated? It takes me great privilege to invite on stage our President, Dr. Thomas, to inaugurate this function.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to the last program of our council. It's been noticed that there is an increasing number of cases happening against our colleagues by the Ministry of Health. So to address this issue and to make you aware of the do's and the don'ts, we decided to conduct this medico-legal complication lecture. And we got one of the best persons to do the talk, Dr. Mohammed Hussain, who is a faculty in the Kuwait board, and he takes lectures of medico-legal subject for the students here. So without much ado, I hand over the mic to Dr. E.T. Roy to introduce Dr. Mohammed Hussain. Dr. E.T. Roy, please.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. Dr. Al-Hassan is a distinguished pedodontist and a leader in the field of medico-legal issues in dentistry. He has a remarkable academic and professional background with the degrees from University of Missouri and the University of New York, and a certification from the American Board of Pediatric Dentistry. He is currently a consultant pedodontist at Pravania Dental Center, where he provides high-quality dental care to children and adolescents. He is also a mentor for the Kuwaiti Board of Residents, sharing his expertise and experience on how to handle medico-legal issues in dentistry. He is well-versed in the law number 70 of 2020, which regulates the practice of medical profession in Kuwait and protects the rights of patients and health facilities. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Mohammed Al-Hassan.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this amazing event. Today, we're going to talk about a very important topic. It's very important for every single medical or dental or allied health provider in Kuwait. Okay? We're going to talk about the law, the Kuwaiti law 70/2020. We've been working without a law to govern what we're doing in Kuwait for like many years, okay? First of all, I need to ask, have anyone read this document? Okay. It's extremely hard to read. Extremely hard to read because, you know, it's formulated by lawmen. They didn't formulate it by doctors. So you're going to read a lot of paragraphs just to reach one sentence that you need to know. It's an 18 two-column pages document. It has a lot of articles, a lot of chapters, and it covers every single thing we need to know. Yet, there are some loopholes in that law. So we need to understand those. We're going to talk about them, some of them, okay? We're going to know how we treat patients without jeopardizing our career. In the past, we were working and we were not protected. I can tell you that. we were working based on some ministerial decisions. We don't have a law to govern everything. We used to talk about ethics, okay, the ADA ethics, and to be honest with you, big part of our law is influenced by the ADA Code of Conduct and Principle of Ethics. So what we're gonna do today, we're gonna talk about those laws that are influenced by the ADA Code of Ethics, and at the end, maybe the last 1/4 of this lecture is gonna be about laws or articles that are so specific to our community in Kuwait, the dental community in Kuwait, okay? So first of all, yeah, sure, thank you. We all know the one on the left here, okay? This is the ADA Principle of Ethics and Code of Professional Conduct. It's covering everything we need to know about ethics. We've been working based on that document for many years in Kuwait. We talk about autonomy, we talk about justice, we talk about doing good, beneficence, do not do harm, non-maleficence. But why now we have the law? Why do we need the law if we have the ethics, code of conduct? Why? Because the ethics, I mean, if you search about it, they're gonna say in the internet, for example, Google, it's gonna say that ethics is internal motivation to do good things. Law is external motivation or external enforcement to do the good things. To be honest with you, this is not right, because both of them are external. We are not born with dental ethics. We are not born with lawyers' ethics, legal ethics. We are born and we are raised and we're getting our morals. The morals are internal source. The morals are individual own principle that we are not born with, but we are raised with those things because of our religions, because of our cultures, because of our parents taught us how to be good and bad. So those are the morals. We're not going to talk about this. This lecture is part of 2 days course. We talked about morals, we talk about ethics, we talk about laws, but today we're going to talk about ethics and laws. Both of them are coming from external sources. But the ethics within a smaller community, such as the dental community, or the lawyers community, or the medical communities, require a voluntary cooperation from its member to adhere to the ethics. The law is a way to enforce this cooperation so you can adhere to the ethics. So both of them, they have the same goal. The goal is to adhere to the ethics. But one of them is voluntarily action, require voluntarily action. The other one is enforced. Why do we need both? Because sometimes we are not ethical. So the law is getting into the society to make sure that we are adhering to the ethics when the ethics are not able to let us adhere to its principles. Okay? So that's why we need both of them. So, okay. Just to make it easier to understand the differences between the ethics and laws, I just took the definitions from the well-known dictionaries in the world. For example, in Merriam-Webster, ethics refer broadly to moral principle. One often sees it applied to questions of correct behavior within a relatively narrow area of activity. Dentistry. Ethics is the standard of good and bad. We know that good and bad distinguished by certain community, like our community, or social setting. It's objective, not subjective like the morals. Law, on the other hand, is the system of rules which a particular country or community recognizes as regulating the action of its members. The law is followed by penalties or punishment for the violation of these enforced rules or regulations. So we know now the difference. To know more about the difference, we need to go further and see exactly how they are formulated, who govern them, what are the consequences of violating them, how it's formulated. It's a set of rules or regulation in a written document. It should be written. If we have a law in Kuwait that is not written and published, then it's not applicable in Kuwait. So it should be written. While the ethics is also a set of guidelines and abstract, and it can be not written. The ADA made it easy for us. They wrote it and they put it on their website. But we have ethics in Kuwait. We have code of ethics in Kuwait, but it's not written. It's not published. It's not required to be written or published. Who makes it? Legislature, National Assembly, Parliament, okay? And governed by the government. So the government will see if you violated the law, the government will take action. While in ethics, organization will formulate or make the set of regulations like ADA, KDA, whatever. And who govern them? Legal and professional organization or committees. Characteristics: the law has legal binding, enforced, published, and obeyed. It should be obeyed. It must be obeyed. But the ethics has no binding nature and cannot be enforced and does not need publishing and not necessarily obeyed. That's why we need the law. Okay? Because we all know that we have ethics in dentistry. But everyone is ethical? I don't think so. Violation leads to penalties and punishment, and we're going to talk about a lot of penalties and punishment in our favor and against us because of the law of Kuwait. And for the ethics, violations has no penalties or punishment. Okay, you're not ethical. Okay, if there is no law, nobody can talk to you. We know a lot of dentists, unfortunately, that are not ethical. We know that. Judgment, law, is judged by a judge in the court. Ethics, committees, as we said. Okay, now we need to know when we face a dilemma in the dental clinic. A dilemma is different than problem. A problem, if we sit like 10 of us and we have a problem, we're going to come up with one solution. The dilemma is different. The dilemma is when we have conflicts between the ethical principles. Here we have dilemma. The dilemma, if we sit 10 of us, we might come up with 10 correct answers. We don't know which one is better. Maybe one of those correct answers will lead us to a problem, another problem, consequences. And we're going to talk about this later. So is the problem legal or ethical? By nature, the law and ethics should have the same goals. The goal of law and ethics is to provide the patient with the most satisfactory treatment for the best interest of the patient. Okay? This is the goal of the law and ethics. But because of the change in attitudinal change in the community, in the public, toward the medical health care, and the growing tendency of initiating lawsuits against medical or dental providers, that stimulated another change in our profession, that we're starting to use the law, and instead of using the law to provide the best treatment to the patient for the best interest of the patient, we're starting to use the law to protect ourselves. okay? So there is like a big problem here, big confusion. We don't know if the problem is legal or ethical, okay? And in one of the studies by Hasegawa in 1988, what he did is he brought like many practitioners and he gave them controversial ethical clinical situations. And he told them, is this legal problems or ethical problems? In generally, dentists tend to recognize them as ethical because they are ethical. But younger dentists, newly graduated dentists, all of them thought that this is legal issues. Why? Because they're scared. They think that people are waiting for them to make mistakes. So they think that this situation is legal, not ethical. While older dentists who are about to retire, they thought that this is neither ethical nor legal. So they don't care. They think this is what they do. This is what he got out of his study. And this, because of this confusion, we have now something called defensive dentistry. Younger dentists are starting to practice the defensive dentistry, where they do things that they're not supposed to do just to protect themselves. Give them more antibiotics. I give you 3 types of antibiotics just to protect myself. I give you treatment that you're not supposed to have. I have a lot of interproximal caries. I don't treat. They are incipient lesions. You don't have to treat. No, I don't want. I need to treat them. Why you need to treat them? To protect myself. I don't want anyone to complain against me. I don't want any other dentist to criticize me, and we're going to talk about criticizing other dentists in this lecture. So I'm going to do it. So this is defensive dentistry. Also, you might refrain from giving them more options, even if those options are mentioned in the treatment plan, just because you want to avoid any legal problems. This is defensive dentistry, and this is mentioned in one of the opinion articles by Al-Hassan in UK, 2017. He talked about clinicians who routinely deny treatments which they could reasonably offer, but wouldn't due to the risk of possible escalating complaint. Despite mentioning all those risks and benefits in a valid consent. They don't want to do it, okay? Also, he said in his article that in UK, younger dentists are starting to go to the hospital setting. They go to the educational institutes because those are more sheltered environment for them. They don't want to be in solo clinic. They don't want to be by themselves. They don't want to be looking over their shoulder while they're working. Okay, so we have a big problem now. We need to know that law should reflect the values of the society and sticking to the ethics. So it should be to the favor of the dentist, the patients, not a way to protect ourselves, like in informed consent, which is an ethical document. It was turned now to become like legal document. Okay? So, does being ethical will guarantee being legal? Now, if I'm ethical dentist, does that mean I'm definitely legal? I'm doing a legal thing? Absolutely not. Someone can think it's legal, like for a GP, to do a comprehensive orthodontic treatment or full mouth implant, for example, because it's legal, but it's unethical if you don't have enough training, if you don't have enough skills, if you don't have enough experience. Same thing, someone would think that this patient needs a functional appliance to correct a crossbite that's affecting the food, the feeding or the eating habit, but their insurance is not covering this. So they do the appliance, but they write it as a treatment like space maintainer, which is covered by the insurance. He thinks that this is ethical because I'm doing the best for the patient. But in the law, it's illegal because there was no need for a space maintainer, and there was no space maintainer in the month, and you charge for it. Okay, so being ethical is not necessarily being legal. I had the same problem like a few years ago when we had a problem with signing the consent in the pediatric clinic. For like after 2019, there was like an incident of patient didn't disclose all his medical problem to the doctor, and the doctor gave him anesthesia, and the patient, 7 years old, he died, passed away. And then it was like a horrible, like few months for the doctors, because everyone was like, oh, the journalist said that this is a medical error. The police officer said that this is a medical error. My neighbor said this is ethical error. There was a firefighter who was interviewed in the TV, and they said this is a medical error. But no single doctor said this is a medical error, because we didn't have any committee to determine this is a medical error or not. So what happened is this is not even a medical error, because there was like some information, essential information, was not disclosed to the doctor. The patient had diabetes type 1, and he had his insulin, and he didn't have his breakfast. Why they didn't tell him? Because they don't want to postpone that appointment. So they didn't tell the doctor that the patient is having diabetes. Okay? So what happened then is that they made a ministerial decision that every single application of the anesthesia should be informed consent. And who can sign it before the law 2020? The father. If the father is not available, the grandfather from the father's side. If the grandfather from the father's side is not available, the uncle from the father's side. What about the mother? No. No, she cannot sign for her kid. This is horrible. That was the situation before 2020. Okay, so the mother cannot. And the mother can come to me. She's crying because the father, she had like a fight. They're about to divorce with her husband. And the husband is punishing her using the kids. They don't want to sign. So what I should do here? I use Ozar and Sokol. It's not part of my lecture. Ozar and Sokol central values are a way to determine which one is more important than the other when there are some conflicts between the ethical principles. So they said that the medical condition and the patient's life is the most important thing, and then the oral health, and then the patient's autonomy. And we know that informed consent is a way to ensure autonomy. Okay? And then many other things, patient's, dentist pattern of practice, cost, all those things. But I'm going to talk, I need to concentrate on the first three. Oral health, patient's life, oral health, autonomy. So what I used to do, I used to treat them without consent. So I'm ethical, right? But if anyone complains against me, I'll be in jail. So it's illegal. So I did it. I did it personally. How many times? Tens times, maybe. Tens of times. Okay? So I would not let the child go home with severe pain or facial cellulitis because his father doesn't want. This is what I used to do. I'm not telling you to do this. Absolutely, you're not going to have to do this because we have a new law now. Okay? This is only before 2020. Okay, so decision-making dilemma. Should I care more about being legal or being ethical? We already answered that. with our examples, okay? But we have to know that most laws and regulations that govern dentistry do not normally prompt ethical conflict. And many laws, such as discrimination or informed consent, those are laws, but they have inherent ethical influence. They are influenced by the ethical principles. When conflicts do arise, the choice between being legal and being ethical can be extremely difficult. Sometimes a dentist's attempt to act ethically, like I did, could be contrary to law, exactly like I did. Ethics and law seems to be in conflict, then you have to consider seeking counsel from peers or organization. If you think that you're in a severe, unsolved dilemma, seek help. Your colleagues, the head of the center, your consultant, your organization, the Indian organization, the Kuwaiti Dental Association, seek help. And they have to help. Actions that violate legal standards may prompt serious consequences. As we said, I might be in jail now, I'm not talking to you. It's a professional obligation to work with colleagues to overturn unjust law, those that are in conflict with the best interests of the patient and the public. As we said, leaving a child without treating. So what we did is we were really angry. We talked to a lot of parliament members until this law came to the surface. So we did that. Okay, now we're going to start with the fun part, okay? The part of the Kuwaiti law that are connected to the principle of ethics of ADA. So we're going to talk about the ADA principle of ethics, 5 of them, and where we can find the articles that talk about those ethics in our Kuwaiti law. Okay, and then after that, we're going to talk about the things that are so specific, that are not mentioned in the ADA Code of Ethics, but it's so personal to us, to the Kuwaiti dental community. First of all, autonomy. We know what autonomy is. We're not going to spend time for that. The dentist's duty is to respect the patient's right for self-determination and confidentiality. They added confidentiality. I think it has nothing to do with the autonomy, but because there are many rules now talking about disclosing information without written approval, so they added to the autonomy. Okay, and we're going to talk about this. So, what do you think of this autonomy? If the patient needs is different than patient desire, what do? You respect the patient desire because of the autonomy? Actually, we have to know something really, really important here. That patient has the right to choose his own treatment out of my options. So if I give him option A and B, and he chose C, this is not respecting autonomy. Because option C was not given. Why it's not given? Because it's really bad for you. So patients, as we said, those are central values. Second one, more important, is oral health. More important than autonomy. So if I don't give you the choice, you cannot choose it. And that does not mean I'm violating the autonomy. Okay? So we know that patient's needs is different than patient interests sometimes. So professionals have a duty to treat the patient according to the patient desire within the bounds or the boundaries of accepted treatment options. So if he chose something that not within the options, then you're not violating, and you refuse to do it, you're not violating the autonomy. Everything I'm saying here is ADA Code of Ethics. Whenever you see orange box, that's the Kuwaiti law. I just put the Kuwaiti law articles in an orange box to make it clear for you. Whenever you see the orange, then this is the Kuwaiti law, okay? So this is from the Code of Ethics, ADA Code of Ethics. So it's important to involve the patient in treatment decision. This is part of the autonomy. This is the major backbone of the autonomy. which means that you have to inform the patient about all other options available, including do nothing and refer. So the patient doesn't want, he wants option C, and you don't want to give option C. You cannot tell him, okay, you can go home, I'm not going to talk to you, and you leave. This is unacceptable. What you need to do is you take another opinion, second opinion, you refer the patient, tell him, I'm going to refer you to another dentist, see if he can do this for you. I'm not going to do this. I cannot do this, but I'm going to send you to someone else. Sometimes, do nothing. You have like a small cavity in a tooth that will exfoliate within 6 months. I don't want to do it now because it's not worth it. You want to do it or not? This is do nothing. This is part of the options, okay? But he must choose it, not you. The father of the patient, the legal guardian, or the patient. Advantages and disadvantages of the proposed treatments or options. Individualized treatment as opposed to one-size-fits-all model. You have to individualize the treatment options for each patient based on their needs. Patient makes the final decision from the available options. Those components are what? Informed consent. So this is the informed consent. Okay, so informed consent is mainly a result of sticking to the autonomy. So informed consent is a conversation between two parties, the provider, which gives the relevant information concerning the diagnosis and treatment and needs to the patient, and the patient who can make voluntary, educated decision to accept or refuse the treatment. Is it ethical or legal? Hasegawa made another part of his study, the one that we talk about, is that he asked all the doctors, is the informed consent a legal document or an ethical document? And we know now it's an ethical document to ensure the autonomy. All of them said it's legal. It's legal. And when I say it's legal, it means it's to protect me as a doctor. So if anything happened, I'm going to say he signed it, which is not right. We shouldn't consider the informed consent a legal document. It has legal components, yes. Right now, definitely, because it's a big part of our law. So it's a legal document now. But it has an influence from the ethical principle of autonomy. Okay, so as we said, informed consent involves both ethical and legal obligations of healthcare provider to the patient. This is the Hasegawa result that issues of informed consent were identified by all groups as being legal rather than having to do with ethical issues of patient autonomy. That means we have a lot of confusion. Okay, in Kuwaiti law, after Article 26, which indicate that the patient has the right to receive medical services, Article 27, under the patient's right, it says the patient has the right to be fully and honestly and truthfully and accurately informed about everything related to their health condition, including treatment methods, benefits, risk, alternatives, available options, in a simplified and clear manner. And this is by law. It's your duty to verify the capability of the patient or the legal guardian to understand this legal document, which is informed consent. Now it's legal, okay? So if a new development arises that require making a new decision, it must be also added later on. So before we go further to this Kuwaiti law, we need to understand what's the component of the Kuwaiti law. When I put it right now, you don't know what's the charter, the article, the title, why the title is here behind the article, the charter. We need to understand how it's formulated, what's the component of that legal document, okay? So it's signed by the Emir of Kuwait on the 19th of October, 2020, and declared and officially published on the 25th of October, 2020. It has two parts, the text of the law and the explanatory notes. So the first 15 pages, it's about the text of the law, And the last 3-4 pages is explanatory notes explaining those chapters. It has 8 chapters. Each chapter has one or more title, and each title has one or more articles. And in the articles, there are some clauses. Absolutely, we're not going to talk about everything. If I hold this 18-page and read it, just read it without explaining, without talking, without moving here, without discussing, it takes like 3-4 hours to read it. Okay? So we're going to take some stuff out of it. Like, for example, practicing the profession in chapter 2. It has like 6 articles, probably. Chapter 3, professional ethics, mainly the first part of our lecture, professional ethics. Informed consent, we're going to talk about informed consent. Who can sign it? Because I'm sure most of us don't know who can sign it. Most of us, including me, before I read this document. Obligation not to disclose the patient's secrets. This is the translation, it's patient information. Prohibition on practicing healthcare professional, regulation for practicing the profession. We're going to spend many times here in this chapter, chapter 3. So at the end of this lecture, I'm going to put a barcode. You can just copy it, and you can read the English version of this law. But believe me, I've been reading this law for the past 2 years. Every time I read it, I discover something new. I'm surprised about something new. Every time. So it's difficult to read. So keep reading it. Keep reading it, because this is going to be your Bible or your decree. Okay? You have to read it, Constitution. And this is what you're going to use to protect yourself and protect your patients. At the end, we're going to talk about something very special to Kuwait, the medical liability. Who's liable and not liable? Authority for Medical Responsibility, AMR. This is very important to know about. And penalties, we're going to talk about few penalties, and we're going to talk about few general provisions. So this is how it is. Now, accepting the informed consent. We go back to the autonomy. Accepting the informed consent, okay? First of all, in Chapter 3, under the title Informed Consent, Article 10, the physician must obtain the patient's informed consent. Now it's legal, it's law, it's by law, you have to, okay? And those are the 4 conditions. We know that. It's like the full state of his illness, the procedure to be done, risk and benefit, alternatives, simplified and clear manner, and then the treatment plan to be followed. You can give him the options, and then the complications, the potential complications that are not rare during and after the medical work. You cannot say that because, you know, there is like a complication of death. You're not going to tell the patient that you might die because we're extracting a tooth. So only the not rare complications, okay? Who can sign it? Okay, before that, can you tell me who can sign it? The patient himself, right? What if the patient is a minor? Who's the minor in Kuwait? In the United States, the minor is 21. In the UK, the minor is below 18. صح? Right? Who's the minor in Kuwait? 15? 16? Okay, let's talk. We have 6 conditions. We have different, like 4 or 5 different ages. For each procedure, we have an age. It's that complicated, okay? So the first one, the patient himself, when he has completed 18 years old, and if the patient condition does not allow, he's like in a coma, he's freaking out, like an accident or something, then the informed consent may be issued from the father, mother, spouse, adult relative of legal age up to the 2nd degree. You remember who was signing in the past? Father, grandfather from the father's side, uncle from the father's side. It's different now. Forget about this BS. Now we have this. 2nd degree. You know who's the 2nd degree? Okay, 1st degree, father, mother, son, and daughter, and wife. And for the wife, husband. Those are the first degree. Second degree, grandfather, grandparents, both sides, and grandsons, brother and sister. Sorry, brother and sister, third degree. They cannot sign. Okay? So we have to know this up to the second degree. Okay? Whether they are male or female. When I was having like a lecture with a lawyer, so the lawyer was explaining the document to us. I asked him, what is the second degree? He was confused. He said, cousin. I was like, are you sure? He said, no. No, not cousin. Uncle and aunt. I said, are you sure? He doesn't know. I'm confused now. I told you something wrong now. The brother and sister are second degree. The third degree are uncle and aunt from both sides. The fourth degree are cousins. So we have brother, sister, grandparents, grandsons, and daughters. Those are the second degree. Okay? Okay, the second one, the father or the mother. And when I say or, it's very important. I said or, not and. Okay? If the patient is under 18 years old, so the minor is 18 years old. Also, any adult relative up to the second degree, they can sign. Up to the second degree, they can sign for your procedures. Okay, what about number 3? It's confusing now. This is one of the loophole of the law. The patient, the patient himself, if he has completed full 15 years old. This is contradicting the first one, right? Okay, how come? With regard to receiving medical services and primary health care. What's the primary health care? مستوصف. Polyclinic. So you think that polyclinic, 15 years old, they can sign for him? In the law, yes, they can. Okay, we do surgical stuff. We do extraction. This is the law. Are you going to do it? Dr. Muhammad, are you going to do it? No, I'm not going to do it, sorry. Even if it's a law. I'm not going to let like 15 years old sign for his extraction. Because this is a loophole. The lawyers can play around with those gaps. He will say primary health care does not include surgical procedure. Yeah, but I did it in the polyclinic. They can play with it. So I'm not going to do it, but this is something you need to understand. So if someone 15 years old coming for cleaning, okay, do cleaning. Do things that are reversible. Okay, you don't like the cleaning, I can give you some bacteria to put. Okay, but if you extract, this is irreversible. I wouldn't do it. I personally wouldn't do it, even if I read it like 100 times here. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to extract a 15 years old without signature from his parent. Extract his tooth. So this is number 3, okay? Except for cases that require overnight stay for more than 24 hours. Okay. Who's going to stay 24 hours in primary healthcare facility? It's not designed for that, right? So this is like a conflict or a gap in the law. Why? Because they didn't consult doctors when they did that law. They know that nobody's going to sleep more than 24 hours in the polyclinic. So how can you put this exception for number 3? Number 3 is a little bit, you have to be careful about it. You can use it in some situation, but most of the situations in dentistry, I wouldn't recommend to use it. Okay. Number 4, the patient himself, another loophole in the law. The patient himself, if he has completed 21 years old, with regard to surgical procedure, come on. Extraction is a surgical procedure sometimes, right? It's surgical. We remove bone sometimes. It's surgical. We split the tooth, we raise a flap. It's a surgical. So am I gonna let an 18-year-old sign for that? I still do it, yes. Because I believe when they said surgical procedure, they didn't mean the dental surgical procedure, but they didn't mention it. It's not clear. We need an explanatory decision to determine what is the procedure, the surgical procedure that they mean here. Okay? And aesthetic plastic surgery, yes, I agree with that. We don't want an 18-year-old to do gastric sleeve and tummy tuck and all those things. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be disaster. Okay? So the second part of it, yes, I agree with it. But the first part is not clear, the surgical procedures, because it says and aesthetics. That means they mean the non-aesthetic, the emergency, I don't know. If he has not completed 21 years of age. Consent for those two types of procedures should be from both the father and the mother. Not or, both. I don't know if the surgical procedure we're doing apply here. I don't think so. I think 18, for me, I'm going to keep doing the 18 years old, okay? So for surgical procedure and aesthetic surgery, the patient himself, when he's above 21, below 21, both, mother and father. Because there are a lot of problems happened in the past. The father was like going crazy because the mother took his daughter and she did like cosmetic surgical procedure to her face. It's going to be like disaster, okay? The number 5, patient himself, if he has completed 21 years, organ transplantation. It has nothing to do with us. If he completed 18 years old, he can donate to a relative, but to the second degree. But if he's donating to like anonymous patient or someone who doesn't know, then he must complete 21 years. 6, the legal representative of the Ministry of Social Affairs and Labor, orphan house, social care homes. So who's going to be the legal guardian? The representative of the Ministry of Social Affairs and Labor. They can sign for him to do this stuff. If the mother and father, they have a problem, then the custodian, if he's under 18, the patient, whoever having the custody by court, okay? If they don't have a problem, anyone can sign, the mother or the father. But if there is like custody by court, then only the one who's holding the custody. A lot of people divorced, they're divorced. The mother and the father, they're like having agreement that anyone can sign. It's okay. Unless they have a court order that this guy is having the custody, then you have to follow this custody. Okay, here just like a continuation that any person that they can delegate a person to assume full health care responsibility, including given informed consent by an official power of attorney, either general or special. And if it's special, they have to mention that they have the right to sign the consent. If it's general, they can do it. Okay? Here, you have to be careful because in the English version, they didn't mention anything about who can sign. Can I give a power of attorney to my neighbor so he can take my sons? No, they can't. Up to the second degree relative. Father or mother, second degree relative. This is not mentioned in the English version and the AMR website. I don't know why they missed it, okay? And if the consent cannot be obtained in a timely manner in cases of accident, emergency, and that happens sometimes, okay, then the physician shall perform the medical work without obtaining the consent. What kind of emergency or accidents? To save the life of the patient, probably it's not for dentist, or one of their organ. I believe that the tooth is one of their organ. So if you don't have anyone, someone bystander brought like a child because of a car accident. The child was like riding the bicycle. He brought it and the teeth are out. I would put the teeth out in without taking the consent, without waiting for the consent. If I cannot have it in a timely manner. Okay. In all cases, if it's not possible to obtain approval according to the provisions of this law, the treating physician should refer the matter to the director of the facility, and the director of facility will form a committee immediately, consisting of 3 doctors. One of them should be consultant, so they can work as or act as legal guardian for that patient. Okay. Now, we need to verify the patient mental capacity. If you think that the one who's signing the form is not mentally stable, then you have to perform like a quick evaluation in the presence of 2 witnesses. The evaluation, you have to make sure that the patient is conscious and aware of time, place, and personal identity, and the identity of people around him. And the second condition is that the patient should be able to understand and comprehend the nature of the disease, the options you gave, in accordance with his educational level, age, and mental capacity, not mental capacity, but I mean, when the grandfather is coming and he doesn't understand those medical terms, you can just simplify it and make sure that he understands what you're doing. That's it. If the patient fails to fulfill any of the said 2 conditions, then he's not able to give the consent. I'm sure you should be careful in choosing to do this evaluation. You're not going to ask everyone, what's your name? Who are you? Where are you now? That's going to be offending, okay? So just do it if you think that the patient's mental status is not stable, okay? So if they cannot do it, then also you have to do the evaluation and write that, document that in the file. Okay. Now, refusing the informed consent. The patient has the right to reject or refuse the informed consent at any time without any reason. But if they do that, you still have commitment to stay with him and give him other options or refer the patient to another doctor. You cannot tell him, okay, you don't want it, I don't care, goodbye. No, you cannot do this, okay? You have to stay committed to that. Okay, what if the parents refuse the informed consent for their kid? If they refuse the approval and the patient's health is endangered or jeopardized, then you have to refer the matter to the facility director, and also they're going to form a committee, and if they think that it's really jeopardizing the patient's health or jeopardizing the patient's life, they have to work as a legal guardian even against the wish of the parent. Okay, quickly, type of informed consent. I don't know what the time is. I don't want to take a lot of time from you, okay? Type of informed consent based on this amazing article. I recommend everyone to read this article, okay, by Vijay Kumar. Implied consent. Implied consent is an action that the patient or the parent do that implies their approval of what they're going to do now. For example, taking an appointment. When you take the appointment, it's a consent from the parent or the patient that they approve to be seen by you. Coming through the elevator toward your clinic, this is implied consent. Sitting on the chair, opening their mouth, this is implied consent. Do you think they're opening their mouth and they're not wishing to be examined by you? Then why they're opening their mouth? So this is implied consent, and this is legally valid. okay? The second one is the expressed consent, the most common consent. The expressed is something you have to say or write before you do. So I'm going to extract the tooth, you have to sign this, or I'm going to clean your teeth. When I say I'm going to clean your teeth, okay, doctor, this is expressed because you express it. Okay, it can be verbal in some of the conditions, like taking x-ray, like doing the cleaning. This is verbal. You don't need to sign for every single thing you do, okay? Or it can be written for extraction, for giving a local anesthesia. This is written express consent. What about the informed consent? Informed consent is a written expressed consent, but require the relationship that we talked about, conversation about alternative, risk and benefit, options. This is informed consent. You're informing the patient, okay? Proxy consent. You know what the proxy consent? Every consent that a pediatric dentist take or a dentist take from a father or the mother for like mentally disabled patient, even if they are above 18, this is a proxy. So someone is given instead of someone. So the father is given, the legal guardian is given instead of the patient. So this is a proxy. So what I do in my life is a proxy consent because someone else is signing for someone else, okay? Blanket consent. So all of them are valid legal consent. What about the blanket? Blanket, some hospital, not in Kuwait, I don't think in Kuwait we have this. When you go to the hospital, they let you sign that we can do anything we want. It's a blanket, it covers everything. It covers everything. They put the blanket above the patient. So you give us permission to do anything we want. And this is legally unacceptable. It's not legal. It's not sufficient. Okay? So blanket, it's there, and some of the hospital does it, but it's not legal. Okay? Loco parentis. Loco parentis is very important. Do we have loco parentis in Kuwait? Absolutely, we do have loco parentis. Loco parentis means instead of the father. In loco, in a place of parentis, parents. In a place of parents. When does that happen? Schools. In the school, a teacher bringing the student because he had an accident in the school. Are you going to wait for the father to do the stuff? Okay, if they don't have a consent from the father that the school is loco parentis, then you have to call the father. It's better. Always call the father. You can take phone consent. Phone consent is acceptable in Kuwait. We do it a lot of time, okay? But not all the situations, only emergency situation or things like that. So local parentis, this is like from my son school. I agree that the school should make every effort to reach my spouse or me in case of medical emergency. When the school is unable to reach any of us, though, I allow the school to provide my child with the necessary medical intervention. I understand that if my child has to be taken to a hospital in an emergency, the school has direct authority to transfer to the nearest hospital, private or ministry, to receive immediate medical care. Loco parentis. If I have this, you can do whatever you want. It's legally valid. Confidentiality. And when I talk about confidentiality in ADA, we're going to refer back to the not to disclose patient information. Okay? It's to keep the confidentiality of patient record and the privacy of the patient personal information with some exceptions. So the ADA made some exceptions and the UK General Dental Council made some exception. And the Kuwaiti law made a lot of exceptions. Okay? So in ADA, they said you can provide information that's beneficial to the patient's future treatment or whatever, applicable according to the applicable law of the state. What's the law of the state? I don't know. Okay? UK General Dental Council said in exceptional situation, it may be justified to make confidential patient information known without consent of patient if it's to the public interest or patient interest. You can disclose patient information in those conditions. What about Kuwait? Look how many, 8 exceptions that you can disclose patient information. What are they? First of all, in Chapter 3, Professional Ethics, you have to take all necessary measures to preserve patient privacy and the exchange of medical information when it's needed. Number 1, the secret may be disclosed in the following cases. Number 1, in a written order issued by the court or the public prosecution. You have a court order. Give them whatever they want. And now the court will not reach you directly or through a lawyer or through a police officer. They're going to reach you through the authority of medical responsibility. This is our shield protection. So now we are all under the protection of AMR. Okay? 2, disclosure of marital medical issues and matters related to one of the spouses to the other spouse after obtaining written consent, but if the consent is not required, the consent is not required if the disclosure is to prevent imminent risk. 3, disclosure for the intention of preventing the commission of a crime or to report it. 4, reporting a communicable disease. We do have sometimes communicable disease that we can discover in the mouth. The patient's written consent to disclose their secret. The patient is giving you, okay. And we do this sometimes. We take signature or the consent from the patient. We're going to show your picture in the social media or in educational lecture, okay? So patient can give you consent to disclose their information. 6, the exchange of information and data required as per professional standard between the medical staff and just for like the benefit of the patient. 7, cases of violence or ill treatment of children, and now there is like a hotline for that. 8, cases of negligence and violence to the elderly. In those cases, you have to report it. You can't disclose patient information. Penalties. What's going to happen? Now we go to Chapter 7. Penalties if you disclose patient information. Whoever discloses, first of all, you need to understand there are 3 types of penalties in the law. The first penalty is punishment by the AMR, Authority of Medical Responsibility. And this is like, we're going to talk about it quickly at the end, like withdrawal of the license for 1 year, permanent withdrawal, notice, warning. It's many things. And there are 2 other things. Felony, misdemeanor. Civil law, criminal law. If it's a civil law, then it's prison for like 5 years and fine 10,000 Kuwaiti dinar. If it's a misdemeanor, civil law, it's a 3 years in prison and 3,000 Kuwaiti dinar. Okay? So, whoever discloses or publish by any mean or method patient's confidential information, whether it was known or discovered or revealed by them through or because of their work. So while you're diagnosing, you find out something secret, or because of the patient entrusted it to them or heard about it from others, except in the cases which the law permits, the 8 exceptions, shall be imprisoned for a period not exceeding 5 years and a fine not more than 10,000 Kuwaiti dinar or one of those. It's a felony. It's a felony. Okay? A criminal case may not be initiated according to this article except upon a request from the victim, the legal representative, or the undersecretary. So the patient's neighbor cannot complain against you because you disclose his neighbor information, only those, okay? So it's a serious violation. It's extremely serious, okay? Then non-maleficence, do no harm, duty to refrain from harming the patient by the most important way to refrain from harming patient is to keep yourself updated. So someone who's working for like 20 years and he never had any article to read or like updating himself or going to the conference, this is like causing a lot of problems. This is causing non-maleficence violation, okay? So you need to know your limitations. If you're not good in surgery, don't do surgical extraction. If you're not expert in placing an implant, don't do it. Refer to a specialist, because otherwise you're violating the non-maleficence. You need to know when to refer. Okay, I don't know how to do it. To be honest with you, I'm really bad in endo. I don't do endo. I did like endo 20 years ago, and I made a hell of perforation, and since that time, I've never done endo, root canal. Never. I refer to my endodontist colleague. Okay, I do a lot of surgery. I'm good in surgery, but I know my limitations. I know when to refer. I know when to do the procedure. When to consult, when to seek second opinion, okay? I think, yeah. In the Kuwaiti law, a physician may not refrain from treating or assisting any patient or injured person, with one exception. If what you're doing is completely outside the area of your specialization, you don't know how to do it, then you don't do it. Nobody's going to talk to you, okay? Use of qualified auxiliary personnel. We have a lot of private clinic. They use dental assistants to do cleaning, to take impression, to do cementation of a crown. This is not acceptable, okay? And you remember, this is from ADA now. It's not orange, okay? Personal impairment, sick, under influence, under drugs. If you think you cannot do it, take sick leave. If you think you're sick, don't go spread your germs. Don't go sneeze on your patients' faces, okay? Know when to take sick leave, okay? Because otherwise, you're harming the patient. You're violating the ethics. Patient abandonment. It's happened sometimes. This patient doesn't like me, and I don't feel comfortable treating him. It happened also with like female doctors, male patient, or the opposite. I don't like the way he looks at me, okay? Or male. I don't like the way he looks at me. I don't want to treat him. He's really aggressive. She's having a lot of physical contact with me. I don't like that. You can abandon, but with two conditions. You give him enough time to find another one, and patient's oral health is not jeopardized by this process. So if you're in the middle of like treatment plan procedure, you cannot tell him, I'm not going to complete this. No, you have to complete it, or you give him time to find another patient, or you find another dentist, or you find another dentist to finish it. But you cannot abandon the patient, okay? Otherwise, you're violating the non-maleficence. Personal relationship with patient also, they're really, I mean, a lot of patients becoming like our friends. It's okay, but don't make it too much. Okay, don't jeopardize the professional relationship between you and the patient. And the ADA, they're not saying this because they don't want a relationship. I mean, we know a lot of doctors married like their patients or the opposite, okay? So, but the thing is, they don't want to put any emotional hardship on the patient. So when they thought about it, they don't want to cause harm to the patient. They don't want any personal relationship that can put the patient into an emotional problem. Beneficence is to do good, and do good not only to the patient, to the public in general, okay? This is the newest ADA, okay? So primary obligation, service to the patient, to the public at large. In the past, it used to be only do good to the patient. No, to do good to the patient and public at large. How come? Hey, now we're going to talk about it. Reporting symptoms of child abuse or domestic violence. This is the patient and public benefits to the proper authority. Obligation, now, this is for us, for the doctors, for the private clinic owners, for the directors of the facilities. We have obligation to establish and maintain healthy, friendly practice environment that support inter-professional respect, good communication, and high level of professionalism. Why? For the patient's interest. In the Kuwaiti law, it's strictly prohibited to act maliciously toward any colleague or disparage his scientific or literacy status or spread rumors that offend him. This is like against the law. You cannot say bad things about your colleague. Number two, to treat patient with care. Okay, still under beneficence. 3, cooperate and seek advice from specialists, beneficence. Respond to calls without delay in cases of emergency, disaster, and wars. And we also, you guys did during Corona. It was amazing, okay? The social work that we did, everyone did. The volunteering that we all did was amazing. So this is part of the beneficence part of the Kuwaiti law. Fairness, justice. We're going to spend time for justice, okay? A duty to treat people fairly. People, who are the people? Patients? Yes, patients. Colleagues? Yes, colleagues. People in general. Treat people fairly, in general. Your colleague, your patients, your boss, anyone. The people in the street. This is as a doctor, okay? So, society here, Ozar and Sokol, the one who did the, we have time? Yeah, okay. They said, they made a statement that society decide what's just and unjust. Does anyone agree with this? Hell no. For me, impossible. Because I know a lot of societies are not fair. A lot of societies, discrimination now is becoming viral in every single country. I'm not specifying country. One of them is my country. I'm sure in India there is a lot of discrimination. In Kuwait there is like ridiculous discrimination. In the United States, oh my God. In Europe, too much discrimination. So I'm not gonna let the society tell me what's just and unjust. This is ridiculous. I'm not gonna tell the society it's okay to ask for like a hospital only for Kuwaitis. This is BS. I'm not gonna accept that. I'm not gonna let society decide what's just and unjust for me. So, dentists shall not refuse to accept patients based on race, creed, color, sex, or national origin. This is ADA. What about Kuwait? Kuwait said you have to take all necessary measures to preserve the patient privacy and dignity without discrimination on the basis of gender, origin, religion, language, or any other basis. Any other basis. No discrimination by Kuwaiti law now. You cannot let a patient comes inside the room because he's Kuwaiti before the one who's supposed to come because he's not Kuwaiti. You cannot do this by law. Now the law is protecting you. Okay? I know it happened a lot. It happened a lot. For me, I see like a patient. Oh, I know him. Okay, let's get inside. You cannot do this. I cannot let a girl comes before the boy because ladies first. No, this is not in Kuwaiti law. Okay? Dentists shall not refuse to accept patients based on their disability or because they are medically compromised. Except, it's obvious now, if it's beyond the scope of your expertise. This is exactly what we have said, that unless the condition is completely outside the area of specialization. Okay, now we're done with the patients part. Let's talk about fairness to colleagues. Can you give expert testimony? If I call you, please, I want you to tell me what Dr. A did to that patient. Can you do this? Can you testify against your colleague? Okay. In ADA, under the document for the expert testimony, dentists may provide expert testimony when the testimony is essential to a just and fair disposition of judicial or administrative action. So it's okay in the United States. What about Kuwait? In Kuwait, Chapter 8, General Provision, Article 79, healthcare practitioners shall be summoned for investigations and trials of complaint, lawsuits, and cases related to medical error or professional violation related to the practice of their work and which are attributed to them through authority of medical responsibility. You're going to have, the AMR has the right to call anyone to testify. You have to, by law. We're going to talk about obligation to go to AMR when they call you, okay? So dentists may provide expert testimony. You have to, but be professional. For me, sometimes I act like the Farwaniya Center director, acting director. I see a lot of those orders. Please, we want this doctor to write a report about this doctor, or this doctor to write a report about this patient. I always tell them, be professional, write what you saw, and write your clinical observations, and that's it. Don't give your opinion, unless they ask for your opinion. So just tell them, I find like an open margin crown, such, that's it. Just write your observations, but don't write your opinion, unless they ask for it. Who's asking for it? AMR, only AMR, okay? Can a dentist criticize another dentist's work? It's hard, right? And it's a problem. We have a lot of dentists, they do this, and they do it in a really bad way. Who the hell did that? Who's the stupid dentist who did this? We saw a lot of this, okay? Okay. In Kuwait, we go back to the number 6 from chapter 3, professional ethics. A healthcare professional is committed to the following: not to act maliciously toward any health professional or disparage his scientific and literary status or spread rumors that offend him. You cannot act like that. But what if the things are true? What if there is like a lot of faulty restorations? What if the restoration is unacceptable? What if there is like, what if there is remaining root that the patient didn't know about after extraction? What if there is like a perforation, like I did 20 years ago? But I told the patient, and I was so embarrassed. Okay, and we had to, in the past, no MTA, nothing, so we had to extract the tooth. Not me. The endodontist decided to extract the tooth after I consulted him. So it's your obligation to report gross or continual faulty treatment by other dentists. In the ADA, they call it justified criticism. Patients should be informed of their present oral health status without disparaging comment or harsh comment about prior service. Okay, what should we do? I'm going to tell you exactly what should you do based on the ADA Code of Ethics. What's justifiable criticism? Discussing previous service. This is from the ADA Code of Ethics. When informing a patient, because the patient is relying on you, he needs to know about his dental health from you. He trusts you. You need to be trustworthy. When informing a patient of the status of his or her oral health, the dentist should exercise care that the comments made are truthful, informed, and justifiable. This should, if possible, involve consultation with the previous treating dentist. This is the best thing you could do. Call the patient. Tell him what happened, because I see a lot of problems with this crown. Maybe for my specialty, maybe the child, when they were doing the treatment, he was uncooperative. He was like turning around. He couldn't do it. He just wanted to put the IRM and leave, please. I couldn't finish it. Maybe that's the situation. So you need to call, see what the situation was when they treated that patient and they delivered this bad quality treatment, okay? To determine under what circumstances and conditions the treatment was performed. You have to make sure that you understand that the difference of opinion as the preferred treatment should not be communicated to the patient in a manner which would unjustly imply mistreatment. We are coming from different schools, different countries. My school has different thought than your school, That doesn't mean your school is not good or your school is wrong. We are all right, different in opinion. You have to understand this, and you have, when you talk to the patient, put this in your mind. It's difficult to determine whether the comments made in cases when it's difficult to determine comment is made is justifiable, you're going to be in problem. Okay, we're going to talk about it now. Unsupported statement, which means unjustifiable, can cause disciplinary action against the dentist making that statement. So you have to be careful. Veracity. This is the last definition or principle in the Code of Ethics. To communicate truthfully, to be honest and trustworthy in dealing with people. This is in the ADA. Unethical to represent a treatment or diagnostic technique when there is no accepted scientific knowledge. In Kuwait, it says you have a healthcare professional under the professional ethics is committed to the following: to perform his work duty in accordance with the recognized scientific and technical principle in the field of medicine or dentistry in a manner commensurate with your degree, his degree, level, scientific and practical specialization. And this is very important, specialization. Because we're going to talk about general practitioner claiming they are specialists, or a specialist in a field and doing something else. Okay? Like I'm a pediatric dentist. In my clinic, I don't have a lot of kids. Okay, let's do something else. Let's do endo. And people think that you are an endodontist and you're not an endodontist. Okay? So you have to be careful about that. Use available diagnostic and treatment methods in accordance with the rules, requirement, and procedure of their use. Devices. Observing the accuracy and clarifying and transmitting medical information in accordance with the specialization or what is required by his work, practice, and the nature of his job. All that goes back to that when you work without evidence-based knowledge, then you are committing like a violation, okay? Now, quickly, we're going to talk about false and misleading degree announcement, false or misleading advertisement, false and misleading representation of fees. They are all under the veracity, truthfulness. Dr. Muhammad, Dr. Jagan, or Muhammad Al-Hassan, without doctor, and then I put DDS. This is the way it should be. And if you go back to the first page, I didn't say I'm a doctor because I put DDS. This is the way it should be, okay? It's not a mistake. It's not like a big violation, but if you want to give a lecture in a well-known international conference, make sure that a lot of people will understand that there's a problem with you. Why Dr. Muhammad, DDS, MS? It should be Muhammad Al-Hassan, DDS, BA, MS, diplomat, whatever, okay? Acceptable to announce and put all your degrees, okay? And this is in Kuwaiti law. It is under prohibition. It is permissible for the healthcare professional to announce about himself, specialty, workplace, and service provided. Okay, what about announcement of unearned academic degree? What is the unearned academic degree? It's a degree taken from non-accredited school, for example, or incomplete degree. You didn't finish, but you made like a degree out of it, okay? A degree which is awarded by non-accredited educational institute, incomplete certification, or an honorary degree. This is misleading to the public and will indicate to the public the attainment of the specialty or diplomat status. So I started the board certification. When we see a lot of advertisement in Kuwait, and believe me, Kuwait is one of the worst countries when it comes to dental advertisement. It's the worst country. I've never seen worse than Kuwait. It's my own country, but I admit that, okay? Board certified endodontist. Board certified Dr. Muhammad Al-Hassan. And the thing is, it's incomplete certification because I took the part one. Part one is a qualifying exam. It's not board certified. When I take part two, and then I take the oral exam, then I'm a diplomat and I'm board certified. So if I say I'm board certified and I just took the first one or two exams, then I'm doing a mistake because I'm deceiving the public. Non-healthy degree. I have a master in MBA, a master, PhD in business. I'm a doctor, I'm a dentist. And then I say I'm a PhD and master, Dr. Muhammad Al-Hassan. People will think that you have master and PhD in dentistry, but you're not. And this is also misleading to the public and not allowed. Announcement of fellowship status granted by organization as a token of membership. Member of the American surgeon. Why? Because I paid $300. They don't know. People will not know. They think you are one of the best surgeons in the States, right? So you have to be careful about announcing those things. You can announce everything here, written here, in CV and scientific papers, but not in advertisement or showing yourself to the public. You cannot use it with the public because the public will not understand the differences, will not understand that you don't have the complete certification. Okay, so don't deceive the public. In Kuwait, the patient or their legal representative has the right to receive the medical service by a specialized medical team, specialist, who is scientifically, practically, and professionally qualified in accordance to the applicable law, regulation, and decision. They have the right, the patient, to know the names, functions, and role of the whole medical team which treats and cares for them, including physicians and other allied health professionals. So they need to understand that you are a GP, not endodontist. They need to understand that you are a pediatric dentist, not a surgeon. They need to understand that by law. Okay. Penalties. Chapter 7. I like Chapter 7 because, you know, it has a lot of articles in our favor. I'm going to show it to you later. Whoever commits one of the following should be in prison, period of not exceeding 5 years, and fine not exceeding 10,000 Kuwaiti dinar. So it's a felony, criminal law. What is that? Practicing a profession of medicine, dentistry, without obtaining a license. Hopefully we all have license. Or a license that has been withdrawn, refused to renew, or more than 120 days have passed since expiry. Please go check your license. Check your license. More than 120 days expired and you're still practicing, 5 years and 10,000. I can take the 5 years, but 10,000 is too much for me. Okay? Provided incorrect data, like certification that you didn't own, non-healthy, unearned, when applying for or renewing the license. Impersonate characters or titles. So they put like you're a specialist and you're not specialist, then you're deceiving the license department, then it's like felony. Specialization versus general practitioner. I'm going to go quickly. I don't want to take more time. A dentist may legally and ethically announce as a specialist to the public if they have dental specialties recognized by a national, this is in America, Commission on Recognition of Dental Specialties and Certifying Boards. In the past 90s, we had a lot of people claimed in the United States that they are specialists in implantology. This is not recognized. This is not a specialty, okay? Specialized in dentists must devote sufficient portion of their time, practice, to the announced specialty to maintain expertise in that specialty. So you're not endodontist and you do only surgery, or you're not periodontist and you do only implant and you forgot all other periodontal procedures. Non-specialist announcing specialist in to make the public believe that specialty service provided by a qualified specialist are engaged in unethical and illegal conduct. ADA, United States. Avoid any communication that expressed or implies specialization, and we have this in the specialty of pediatric dentist. A lot of people, they write that they are pediatric dentists, but they're not. A lot of GP. I mean, most of the people treating kids in Kuwait are GP. It's okay. You're allowed to treat kids, but don't deceive the public that you are a specialist. Some people don't care. Okay. School health are GP. They're doing a great job. So they don't need to claim that they are a specialist. Okay? So, as we said, the license per the licensee, name, photograph, job, title, professional level, and specialization in the license. I just changed my license after 20 years of working. I used to be a pediatric dentist. I became pediatric dental consultant in 2015. And then I resigned from my practice, private practice in 2020 during the corona because of family issues. And I spent like a year at home. And then I went back to the government. They called me and they said, we want you to join the board. So because of the corona and all those chaotic situation, they just write, I'm a consultant dentist. I was okay. I'm teaching residents. I take my residents to the general anesthesia in Farwaniya Hospital. Then my previous private clinic asked me to join them again as a part-timer. When I joined, they made my license based on my governmental license, which is consultant dentist. So they refused that I go into the general anesthesia in the hospital. Why? Because I'm not a pediatric dentist. Only the pediatric dentist and surgeon can go to the general anesthesia. So I had to resign again to reapply for another license, and they add pediatric. I spent 1.5 months to do this. A healthcare professional, Kuwaiti law, is committed to the following: to perform his work according to what's written in the license and in a manner commensurate with his degree level, scientific and practical specialization. Penalties: whoever commits one of the following acts shall be punished with prison 5 years. 10,000 felony is if you use banner, billboard, or any mean of publication, advertisement, or any other mean of social media that would lead the public to believe that they are entitled to practice the profession of medicine or dentist or any other allied health, contrary to the truth of what's established in the license granted to him. So because my previous wrong license was not mentioning pediatric, I should not announce myself as pediatric because it's not mentioned in my license. Okay, advertising issue. We're going to have little fun here. Advertising is really good. When you advertise for yourself or your clinic, it helps people understand the dental care available for them. But the best advertising we have to know is the word of mouth recommendation by satisfied patient, okay? Advertising by a dentist must not mispresent fact. I'm putting some examples in the worst country when it comes to advertising, including my clinic. So if anyone here see his clinic advertisement, I put my clinic also. I removed the names, but this is what I'm going to explain. Mispresent fact, false or misleading advertisement. For here, say goodbye to the needle with the electronic anesthesia. What's electronic anesthesia? It has a needle. Exactly, but it has a needle. So you cannot say goodbye to the needle. This mispresenting fact. Here, it says, an advice of the day, please use whitening toothpaste to remove the calculus. People will think this is right. That's good. I have calculus. I don't need to go to the dentist and do the cleaning. I need to use the whitening toothpaste. Yeah, are you going to whiten the calculus? It's not going to be removed, okay? Create false or unjustified expectation of favorable results. Guarantee atypical results, like this one. 0% chance of failure with our implant. I mean, even if you are a magician, you cannot guarantee 0% failure chance, okay? Extraction of the wisdom tooth within minutes with no pain. Within minutes with no pain. This is atypical result. Okay, I can do this. But this is not guaranteed. If you don't give, even the anesthesia is different from person to person. You cannot guarantee 0 pain within minutes. Okay. Mislead or deceive by partial disclosure of relative fact. Enjoy our bleaching with laser. Can you see laser here? Enjoy our bleaching with laser. Okay. I don't see laser. First time, and put lines under first time, and they are first time in Kuwait, the piezo surgery. Extraction with waves, forget the pain. This is what's written. The piezo surgery require removal of bone with the handpiece. Yes, you do the waves, and after the waves, you raise a flap, you remove bone, extract. So you cannot deceive the public. They think that you're going to put like laser or waves, and the tooth is going to jump out of your mouth. This is not, this is deceiving, okay? Mispresent fees. It says all orthodontic treatment are 550 KD. It cannot be. This misrepresent. This is, it's better even to say start with. This, come on. If we have like surgical case. Are you going to take only 550? This is not reasonable. Okay. First time, anesthesia without needle. First time. Here it says, do not represent a unique superiority over other practitioners or precedents. So first time, we're the pioneer. Okay. This is my clinic. They put a series of pictures saying there are players. There are a lot of players, but there are Messi. And they put Messi with my clinic. So it implies that we're the best. And this is not allowed by law in Kuwait. You cannot claim superiority or pioneering or first-timers. You cannot claim that, even if you are right. Okay? Then they put, there are many currencies, but there is the Kuwaiti dinar, the strongest dinar. And they put the Kuwaiti dinar with the logo of my clinic. This is wrong. And this is the worst. They said, there are blank, and there is the lion, so the rest are animals. This is bad. This is extremely bad, okay? So I don't like this, but unfortunately, this is how it's going in Kuwait now. False information in the social media. And this here, they said, we're gonna just follow us, and we're gonna give you all the secrets that dentists talk from your back, behind your back, and you have to know about it. So they're just disclosing our secret now, okay? They think that we're doing something bad, and people will need to know. So what he said here is that a lot of people, a lot of dentists tells you, you have to visit them every 6 months to do the cleaning. But in fact, this is only for financial gain. You don't need to visit us. If you keep brushing your teeth, you have to visit me once every 2 years. This is what's written here. And the dentists are telling you to visit them twice a year because they need your money. Give me one guideline that tells the recall system should be once every 2 years. So you're giving them wrong information, and you're disparaging, or you're claiming and spreading rumors against other dentists. Most of us, because we tell the patient to come every 6 months, okay? And this is the worst. Social media. Autism treatment. Autism treatment. People are desperate. Some people are not accepting the autism. It's a spectrum. Some kids are like very mild. They have very mild conditions. Some of them have severe conditions. So when you tell them that you have autism treatment, you're playing with their emotions. You're trying to attract people who are desperate by this kind of advertisement. Autism treatment. This is in Kuwait. All of them are in Kuwait. So, you are prohibited by Kuwaiti law from announcing the price of the service performed or any product, treatment, or medical device by any means of publication or advertisement except after obtaining approval. They're not going to get the approval with this kind of advertisement. In all cases, it's necessary to respect the public morals, adhere to the professional ethics, preserve the patient privacy in advertisement, and refrain from claiming superiority or precedence in providing medical service. I know someone who was a trainee with me when I was a specialist, pediatric dentist, and I was doing my GA. He was trainee, and I gave him a recommendation letter. He went to become a pediatric dentist, and now I see his pictures saying in the advertisement, the pioneer of general anesthesia. He was training with me. when I was doing the general anesthesia in 2007. And now he's claiming that he's the first in Kuwait. False or misleading representation of fees should be consistent and fair to all parties. No fee variation based solely in the patient's financial resources or insurance plan. First thing they ask my father now when he goes to any hospital, do you have afia? Why do you need to know if I have afia? Is the treatment going to be changed? Are you going to change your strategy? Are you going to change your options? This is horrible. You as a doctor, you don't need to care about if the patient is having insurance or not. Should be consistent. In non-emergency situation, fees and payments options should be disclosed to patient and agreed often prior to any service being performed. So they have to sign. With the consent, the treatment plan and the cost. Financial arrangements for treatment as part of the informed consent should be added. In Kuwait, in the patient's right, Article 33, the patient has, or legal representative has the right to obtain approximate expected financial cost for the treatment. We have time? I might need like 15, 20. Is it okay? Good. Overbilling. Why overbilling? Patient looks well off. Ooh, wow, he's coming with a Bentley. Okay, I know how to get money out of you. Or, ooh, we have Gulf insurance, the best insurance. So the price is double the price of other patients. You cannot do this. Incorrect treatment dates, and this is unfortunately based on some of the patient's requests. Why? Because when you did the treatment, they were not having the insurance. And 1 week after you did the treatment, they had insurance, and they want you to change the date so the insurance can cover that. This is unethical and illegal. Incorrect dental procedure. As we said, I need to do a functional appliance, but it's not covered by the insurance. So I do the functional appliance, but I document something else. This is also unethical and illegal. Unnecessary service, defensive dentistry. You have like interproximal caries that you can just leave, but you want to do it because you want to take money. This is unethical, but not illegal. Why? Because you can justify it, unfortunately. You're going to say, okay, I don't know the compliance of the patient, so I want to do it. I don't want to leave and incipient lesion to become bigger, okay? So now the end of the lecture. As I said, like there are 10 maybe slides about things that are so special to us as Kuwaiti dental community, okay? That doesn't have to do anything now with the ethics, but this is something you need to know to be happy sometimes, okay? There are a lot of good surprises now we're going to talk about. First of all, medical liability. When are you held liable or not liable if there is any complaint against you? First of all, the physician shall not be questioned about the patient's result as long as he or she exercised the necessary care in accordance with his specialty, according to the degree, educational, practical, and professional level, often diagnosing of the disease or treatment. That's why it's very dangerous to claim a specialty that you don't have. Maybe you want to get more patients, but this is also jeopardizing your career. If the patient went and complained that you're a pediatric dentist, and then they discovered that you're a GP, even if you did everything you can do, the mistake is on you because you claimed someone else's specialty. Medical liability here. The physician shall be liable in the following cases. 1, if he commits an error because of ignorance of the proven medical technical standards and basic rules of medicine or negligence of implementing them. 2, if he conducts a research experiment without the ethical approval from the ministry and the consent from the subjects or patients, I'm sorry. If it's proven that the physician neglected or failed to provide the necessary care and follow-up. 4, if he or she performed any medical work on patients in violation of the regulatory decision issued by the Ministry of Health. Sometimes things are not mentioned in the law of Kuwait, but the ministry said, don't do it. We don't do, I remember in the 90s, they used to do the IMF to lose weight. So they tie their mouth, people cannot shut their mouth, so they tie their mouth with wires so they cannot eat. They just drink with the straw. And I remember when I was in the polyclinic, every day people coming crying because, you know, it's broken and it's impinging the soft tissue, and they have to just spend the time cutting the wire. So until the ministry said this is extremely forbidden, you cannot do it, then you should not do it. If you do it, then you're held liable. 5, if he or she conducts an operation prescribe, applies, and provide treatment to a patient without being a specialist or being qualified to do this. 6, if he or she uses medical devices, equipment, machine, or tools without sufficient knowledge or adequate training for their use. Okay, not liable in the following cases. If the mistake or the problem or the harm suffered is due to patient's own action or negligence, if it's proved that the harm suffered due to the patient's refusal of the treatment or failure to follow the instructions. So you said to the patient that you need to extract this tooth now. You cannot leave it. It's infected, severely infected, baby tooth. And they said no. He said, okay, let's take another opinion. And they take no, I don't want to extract it. And they leave. And then he had facial cellulitis. He was admitted, fever, fluid. Then it's not your mistake. You did everything you do to do the procedure, but they refused. 3, if the harm occurred as a result of his concealing essential information, the condition that we talk about, diabetic child. If the harm resulted from a facility error or external causes, I'm working and there is like a power outage and we couldn't finish the treatment and the patient is already, everything is open now. I mean, the pulp is open, I cannot do anything, so it's not your mistake. It's something out of your hand. 5, if the harm occurred to the patient as a result of recognized medical effect or complications. It's a side effect. In the past, even side effects were considered a medical malpractice or medical error by the officer or the, as we said, the firefighter or the neighbor or the friend. So everyone can decide. Okay? So if it's regular side effects, you're not held liable. 6, if the physician follows a specific medical method in diagnosis or treatment that are contrary to other physicians in the same specialty, as long as the method followed is consistent with the medical principle generally recognized in this field. Sometimes there is something we can do in the United States. I do it in the United States. In Kuwait, usually in our center, we don't do it. And the ministry didn't publish any decision to let us refrain from doing it. And you did it, and there was a mistake, it's okay. Because it's evidence-based dentistry, even if it's not well known in Kuwait. But you know how to do it. But there was like a side effect or a mistake or anything, you're not going to be held responsible. 7, if the harm occurred while the physician was performing their duty of assistant in the event of disaster or public emergency. I couldn't understand this well. Does that mean I'm doing it and then like a missile came? I don't know. Okay? Or they called me like, you have to come. We have a national emergency, and I leave the patient. It is as it is. but I don't know what they mean with it. I'm sure there is someone who formulated this law, know exactly what they mean. Okay, authority for medical responsibility, our home, our protector, okay? It's an independent entity. There is like 3 or 4 pages in the law talking about this. We don't want to know who's gonna assign them, the minister, the Emir of Kuwait assign him, because it's different entity. Okay, the Minister of Health nominates some people, and then the choice is gonna be for the Council of Ministers, okay? So the authority is a specialized entity committed to providing expert medical opinion, determine the occurrence or not of medical errors. So now, no longer the police officer will decide if it's a medical error or not, okay? Or professional violation, whether in government or private facility, determine the nature of the error and those responsible for it, assessing the damage resulting. So in the past, the lawyer can tell them, okay, he lost the tooth because of him, so this is like 50% disability. Come on, who are you to decide? Imposing the disciplinary penalties prescribed in the law. This is all in our new home. Okay, the committee that is formed by this AMR shall have the right, through the authority, to request data, information, and documents necessary to perform its duty, and request to provide it with the technical opinion from any governmental or private entity, testimony, expert testimony, which must cooperate. You have to cooperate. You cannot say, no, I'm not going. No, you cannot say, I'm not going to the AMR. AMR is your new court. Also, they have the right to communicate with foreign bodies, agencies, and centers specialized in the medical, health, and scientific fields for the purpose of assistant help or advice. The complainant, the people who complain against us, have the right during the investigation to review. So people now cannot complain in the police station. If they want to complain against me, they have to go to the AMR. Okay? Review the medical files, reports, and evidence presented. Concerned parties, us, may submit their defenses, observations, and objections to the committee. Also, we may object to the report, final report, within 15 days. Make sure, if you don't like what the final report, you have to object within 15 days, okay? From the date of receiving the report. The report shall become final if no objection is submitted within those 15 days. And if any of the concerned party objects to the committees, then within the specified period, then the authority must re-examine the matter by assigning another committee to do the re-evaluation. So you have 15 days after the final report before, so you can object. All governmental and private healthcare authority and facility are obligated to implement the decision and penalties issued under this law. And believe it or not, we're not going to pay anything. The ministry is going to pay for us. If you are in private clinic, the private clinic should pay for you. So not in a single article in this law that the doctor should pay the money, except if it's in the court. Okay, if it's in the court and something you did out of the work, then you should do it. But for anything regarding the health or errors or anything, then the ministry or the private sector will pay for you. Article 69, this is some things and the penalties that we need to know, all of us, as dentists working in Kuwait. Whoever commits one of the following acts shall be punished with imprisonment for a period not exceeding 5 years, so it's a felony, and a fine not exceeding 1,000 Kuwaiti dinar, practicing a profession of dentistry without obtaining a license, or 120, as we said. Remember this. Please, 120 days. Before the expiration, go and renew it. Article 71. This is in our favor now. Whoever physically assaults a healthcare practitioner while performing his or her job shall be punished by imprisonment for a period not exceeding 5 years and a fine not exceeding 10,000 Kuwaiti dinar. It's a felony now. It's one of the highest or the most aggressive, I would say, punishment for people who are physically assaulting someone else. The doctors are number one in Kuwait. Okay? Okay, what about if the insult was verbal or libels, slanders, abuses any healthcare practitioner while performing their job or because of it? So if someone saw you in the avenues and he insulted you, it's like you're in the facility. Okay? 3 years and fine not exceeding 3,000 Kuwaiti dinar. So it's misdemeanor. So it's like very serious punishment now. Nobody can physically or verbally abuse any healthcare provider. Even in the National Assembly, they were like objecting this. They said, come on, why they're not the same as anyone else? But they insisted, the government, the Ministry of Health insisted that healthcare provider should have better immunity or protection. Okay. Those are the disciplinary action by AMR. Notice, warning, financial penalties not exceeding 1,000 Kuwaiti dinar, temporary suspension of the license for a period not exceeding 1 year, or cancellation or withdrawal of the license permanently. This is the disciplinary action by AMR. Those actions will not cancel or eliminate any criminal and civil liability that may arise from the same incident. So if you have any problem and they put some action, they can, the patient can raise this to the court through the authority, and you can be fined in a felony or misdemeanor. This one here. I was surprised with this. Only the public prosecution shall investigate all crimes stipulated in this law, as well as crime committed by or against the physician and stipulated in other laws, except the crimes stipulated in the law of traffic and other crimes associated with it. You know what that means? No one ever can call you and ask you to go to the police station. No one can call you except the prosecution. So if you get a call from the police station, tell him, call the AMR, don't call me. Nobody can. No police officer can come and tell you to come to the police station. The only time you can go, and this is just to make it easy on you, to the police station if you have a traffic problem, accident, anything. So we are granted immunity from going to the police station. Nobody can call or summon any physician or dentist or nurse to the police station. The only people who can investigate is the public prosecution. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Here. As we said here, healthcare practitioners shall not be arrested while carrying out their work or while they are in the healthcare facility, except by a written decision issued by the public prosecution or the court. So nobody can come to the clinic and tell you to come with them. All lawsuits resulting from violating the provision of this law shall be dropped after 3 years from the date of the medical work or the violation procedure. It means nobody can come and tell you, I'm going to complain against you because you did a bad crown 4 years ago. So after 3 years from the procedure, nobody can complain against you. Not in the AMR, not in the police station, not in the court, nothing. So if you make a mistake, pray to God that for 3 years, nothing's going to happen. This law is signed by the Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Nawaf Ahmed Al-Jabr Al-Sabah. I pray that he get well soon. Issued in Steve Palace in October 19, 2020. And this is the barcode. You can take it, and you can read the translated law, number 70/2020, which is the best law for our career or for our profession. We are happy to have this law now after working for many years without any law. We're just protected by our mother's prayers. Now the law is protecting us also. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry to take all that time from you. It's a lot of, as I said, I've been reading this for 2 years. Every time I find or figure out, there are something new in it. So I want you to keep reading it. Make it like a habit. Every like few months, read it. There are a lot of things that are not related to us, like abortion, killing the patients. We don't worry about this, okay? But read the things that I mentioned here. Read the things that related to our job, our career, our profession, and you're gonna love this law. And you're gonna find something new every time you read it.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Mohammed. That was really an excellent, informative session. Big round of applause.
Thank you very much.
He combined two big documents. One was the ADA's Code of Ethics and the Law 70 into one single presentation. And he did an amazing job at explaining all the intricacies of the law. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much.
We have like 5-10 minutes. If anyone has a question, quick question, please raise your hand and
Sure.
begin.
Dr. Mohammed, hands down, this was an amazing lecture. Now, I have a question to ask. I'll put a situation. I'm an orthodontist. I treated the patient for 2 years. Treatment finished. Everything during the course of treatment treatment plan is considered to be a dynamic thing, right? I wrote everything. I made the patient sign everything, every part of it. When the treatment finished, the patient said he wanted something else. Now, the patient tells me that I told him that, see, I explained to you everything, and this is what was this was a planned end result, and this is what you have got it. Now, the patient said, it says that I don't know what you told me because you speak. I don't know what you told me because you don't speak Arabic. I mean, I do speak Arabic, of course, not like an Arab, but you don't speak Arabic. You explain me in English, and you speak Hindi. So. And I'm in a sticky situation, and this perhaps happens with a lot of us. Most of the community we treat is Arabic, and most of the doctors are bilingual, non-Arabic doctors. So how do we manage such a situation?
This is, unfortunately, this is part of the verifying the capability. As we said, the law is there. It's not specifying every single thing. When they say like, verify the mental capacity and that they understand based on their age, level of education. This is where the lawyers can play. Okay. So the thing is, in case the patient does not know how to speak.
The patient, best part is the patient knows English.
Knows English.
But of course now he's only conversing in Arabic.
That he speak, you didn't speak Arabic, he said.
No, I did speak Arabic. I explained everything. The patient himself speaks English.
Okay.
Okay. Now he's continuously talking in Arabic, and he's saying, I don't speak English very well. So there is a...
Your defendant should be that, you made sure that you speak to him, and you spoke with him in Arabic and English, okay? And when he signed, he signed while he's awake. He's not unconscious when he signed, okay? So the thing is, a lot of people will try to find ways to get away from like paying the rest or...
Right, exactly.
I know that. But the thing is, if you document everything, if everything is signed, if they sign the consent, and if you have like a consent that is like Arabic and English, you're protecting yourself. If they said that you didn't verify the mental capacity. No, I don't. He's mentally stable. He knows what I'm doing. He speaks English. He was talking to me all the time in English. How should I know that he doesn't speak English very well? He was speaking English with me very well. And if he wants me to speak in Arabic, I can speak Arabic. So the thing is, they cannot get away from it. Even if he complains against you, you can defend that. When you go to the AMR.
Will the principle, sorry to cut you off, will the principle of implied consent apply here? Because I treated him, I treated 2 of his daughters, so you cannot have a doctor treating 3 or 4 family members of you for last 3 years or 4 years. If you're not satisfied with the doctor, will the principle of implied consent apply here?
Exactly. You know, the people who are going to investigate this are doctors.
Okay.
Okay? And now we're asking everyone in the AMR that whenever we have a problem in pediatric dentistry, there must be a consultant pediatric dentist. Then when there is like a periodontology problem, there must be a periodontist in the clinic. Because right now, they bring a dentist. But sometimes I'm sure that a lot of endodontists, they don't know why we're doing this procedure or that procedure in pediatric dentistry. So now we're asking everyone to come and bring that. And then we know, bring the specialty, the same specialty. And now we know exactly how the people are acting. So it's not going to be easy for them to tell the committee that I couldn't understand and I'm not happy with him, because you know they're gonna, when you give your defense, you're gonna tell them that I treated all his family.
Okay.
If they're not happy, why did they come? They will take this into consideration. And now I believe it's going to be extremely hard that any healthcare provider will be treated unfairly in the AMR.
Ambish, we just need to cut off here because somebody else also needs to ask questions and we are really running short of time.
Okay.
We can continue the discussion
I mean, the thing is, don't worry about investigation or if they complain. Now, right now, I don't care if someone complains against me. You know why? Because I document everything. This is number one. You have to document everything. And I know that the people who are investigating with me are people who know exactly what I'm doing. Not like the police officer in the past. They don't know. You tell them this, okay, why didn't you do this? It's nothing related to medical or dental, okay? So don't worry about this. But as we said, documentation. Document everything, okay? Yeah.
Hello, doctor. We work for the school oral health program.
Yeah.
So the thing is that you started off by saying that the consent that you take, it's a ethical document, not a legal document. You started off saying that.
Informed consent, right now, it's legal document.
Yeah. So
because it's mentioned in the law.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of legal components. But the thing is, it came from the principle of autonomy. So why you do the consent? To be honest with you, now I do the consent so I get away from any liability.
Exactly. So
but
that
the
is
thing
illegal.
is, it should be because the patient are informed about everything else. So I told him about the complications that he might have. So for me, he cannot tell me why I have like numbness in my cheek. I told you there is numbness in my cheek.
So another thing that I want to ask you is sometimes you just ask them to read the document rather than explaining about the whole procedure.
It's better to explain because this is something that can be
taken
held
against you.
Did you read it to him? Did you make sure that he understands?
He's ticking all the boxes when he's signing it.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to hold it. I'm going to do this and this and this. You understand that? Everything written, you have to mention it.
Okay.
If it's written, mention it. Just tell him, okay? So in this case, you informed him verbally, and he's reading also.
Because we have few lawyers coming in as parents, and then they tell you that this document does not have any valid.
Not anymore.
No. That's
Not
why
anymore.
I just want to confirm with you.
Not anymore.
Thank you so much.
Now
Doctor.
the informed consent, I mean, if it's part of the paper system in the center,
yes.
It's
a legal document.
Legal document.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Srikrishna?
Question is
One
here.
more question.
I have 2 questions. First one is like in many of our clinics, the nurses take the radiographs.
Yes.
So is it legal or is it?
It's illegal.
It's illegal, right?
It's illegal.
So
this is called, in the United States, It's called denturism, okay? And in 4 states in the United States, it's legal. But the rest of the states, it's illegal, okay? Here in Kuwait, everyone should work based on his license. His license, if you're a nurse, dental assistant, you're not allowed to do the dentist job, okay? And if they complain, definitely the investigation will be against the doctor. The denturism increased it was like legal in most of the states in the United States. And in Canada, they have their own journal, a Canadian Journal of Denturism. They have their own association. But in the United States, after having this for like many years, now all the states are forbidden the denturism, except 4 states still they have denturism, where lab technician or nurse or assistant are doing the dentist job. This is totally unacceptable, ethically and legally.
So can the patient complain that the nurses took the X-ray, and could that be a reason for complaint
The
against you?
nurse and the doctor and the director of the facility or the owner of the facility.
So
They cannot do this.
So the doctor has to take the X-ray. That's the thing. Okay.
And you know something? They're still doing it. I mean, people are still doing it. I mean, he leaves, the nurse does everything, and he leaves. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Doctor, second question was regarding, you're talking about professional ethics, like Chapter 3, Article 9, the fairness to colleagues. Like, for example, as you said earlier, many doctors say, oh, who did this and what a bad job and things like that. So if a patient, one of our patients go to another doctor and the doctor says this is wrong, let's say Dr. A did a wrong job, and the patient comes back to you and say, that doctor told me that you did a wrong job. So what do we do in such situation? Do we have a right to ask that doctor, put it in writing and send it to me? How do we defend ourselves?
To be honest, I don't know exactly what you need to do. Do you complain against the other doctor and you just show that your job was really good and he's just spreading rumors about you? Because, you know, in the law, this is against the law. Now it's in the law, in the Kuwaiti law, that you cannot spread rumors about other dentists or other. But the way you do it, I think the only way you do it is you complain in the AMR. But does it really worth it? To be honest with you, I've been here in the field for like 22, 23 years. I'm sure a lot of people talk in a bad way about me. To be honest with you, I don't care. Because as we said, the best advertisement for yourself, from a satisfied patient. So let your job respond. For me, I wouldn't escalate the problem. Just, okay. What do you think? You want another opinion? Okay, I'm going to send you another opinion. Take many opinions. If many opinions said this is wrong, okay, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm going to recheck again. But if they said that this job is really good, then you have to decide, not me.
Thank you, Doctor. We have time for only one last question. Dr. Subin.
Is it legal to do a root canal teeth for a permanent teeth at age below 14 years?
In a 14 years old?
By a pediatric dentist?
Yeah, absolutely.
And no problems?
No problem. It's part of our curriculum.
Yeah. No,
And you know something?
I just want to know, is it legal?
Yeah, it is legal. It is legal. Yeah, it is legal. Absolutely. It's legal for a GP to do a root canal.
Okay.
But the thing is, if you do a root canal and the case is complicated and it needs a specialist job, then you have to refer. Because, you know, the investigation committee can justify and prove that you did something wrong not to refer this patient.
Okay. No, as a
They're going to ask you what kind of conferences you went. Maybe. What kind of root canal you used to do in the dental school. What kind of root canal you used to do in the children's hospital when you were specializing. If you didn't do before, like a very complicated case or like a separated instrument and you try to remove it and you broke, then you shouldn't do it because this is out of your scope of your expertise.
No, I just asked about the legality.
It's
no
legal.
problem.
It's legal. You can do anything. As a pediatric dentist,
Yeah.
it's legal to do anything because I'm a pediatric dentist. No.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, with that, we come to the end of the Q&A session. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed, for explaining everything. Probably we'll have you come over for another talk in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Over to our President, Dr. Thomas, to hand over the mementos. Put together. Thank you, Dr. Mohammed, Dr. Thomas. We'll have a quick break, probably around 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll come back to start the AGM. All right, so please be back on time. Thank you.